Hey Rebecca, how you been?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Just it's busy like always.
Awesome. Awesome.
Trying to catch my
Mhm.
breath. Did you want to introduce yourself real quick about how
Oh,
you help
sure.
autism?
Yeah. Well, my name is Rebekah Stangl, and I'm a special educator. I'm certified birth through 21 years old, and I've been teaching for just about 30 years. And I've worked a lot within the autism community, not only educationally, but also with families and friends. And I also have some family members who have children with autism as well.
Okay.
And over the years, working in classrooms with children who have autism, it's been amazing just to see the change in how our school systems have embraced it in many respects. I think we have a long, long way to go. Don't get me wrong. There's still so much more to learn and a lot farther way to go.
Yes.
But there is quite a change that's happened over the last 30 years. And I believe that we know more about autism now than we've ever known. And our strategies and our techniques have really changed. And that's super exciting to watch because I've actually had the opportunity to actually teach children at the early childhood special ed level. And then I've had them come back around to me a second time as I moved into being a high school teacher and get to work with them as high schoolers. And then I've got to watch them graduate and get married and even have families. So it's been really cool to get to experience kind of like all of that over time. And that's the advantage, I guess, of being older, and having all that experience. But yeah, so it's just been fun to see all the changes to and how we engage with kids with autism, from communication to understanding their sensory needs to setting up schedules and creating just secure, structured environments that empower them and make them feel that they can achieve. So that's been super exciting.
It's great that you do that. I
Mm.
mean, that's definitely something we all need, for our kids, especially with kids on the spectrum. They all need that guidance and extra help and know
Yeah.
that we can actually, achieve the dreams, to the dreams and what
Hmm.
they want to do. And so I think that's
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
And
And I think that's one of the biggest fears for parents is, well, what happens after high school? And I think it's hard to imagine that, especially when they're young.
yeah,
But my encouragement to families is just letting them know that things are constantly changing. New programs are constantly being developed, new group homes, new funding from states to help your child even stay in your home. Or I just had one of my students, I worked with him probably for the last 8 years. He graduated last year and just got a one of a kind or just starter funding, they call it, to get his very own first apartment with a roommate.
wow.
And he's a level 3
Hmm.
autism based student, has some verbal struggles, obviously a lot of transitional struggles as well, and some behavior things. But inside this apartment complex, they actually have on staff full time a nurse as well as somebody to oversee all of the apartments to help their students whenever they need help. They go into their apartments and they help them budget, they help them pay bills, they teach them how to clean, they do all those things. And then they still have somebody on campus to kind of watch,
Yeah.
make sure they're being safe. And so that's just opened up about 2 months ago here in Minnesota. And so I think it's just really cool and really hopeful for parents to know these things are coming around and that, there can be a life for
Hmm.
their child after high school. And
Yeah.
there's jobs out there for them too that are really cool. So,
Yeah. No, I understand. I get that. Yeah, because my we have a program out here in Vegas that you can actually it's called Opportunity Village,
oh,
and
yeah.
they have that kind of system like what you
Hmm.
because my husband actually works with a few kids or well actually a few adults actually father say
Hmm.
but he works with a few of them that actually work at his work through Opportunity Village and they actually help them get a job and everything else. So I thought that's pretty amazing. My husband talks to them all the time and communicates with them and stuff like that. So he thinks it's really cool. It's really cool for
Yeah, that is awesome. That's so cool.
him. So
I
he's
love it.
yeah. So is there any kind of like artist moment you would like to share? Like how with one of your students or your clients?
Yeah, so I guess one that there's really sticks out in my mind that is always a proudest moment is I had worked actually with this student from sixth grade all the way through 12th grade, and then even up through 21 after they graduated into like transition supportive environment. And when I met him, the mom was really, feeling defeated. The principals and some of his school teachers prior to had said he'll never make anything of himself. He'll be lucky if he reads past a first or second grade level. And she just felt, defeated. And when he started working with me, we just really focused on the positives. We focused on what he could do at the moment. And then every day was a building block to move forward from the day before. And we didn't put limits on anything. We didn't say, you'll never get here, you'll only be this, or we never did that.
Yeah.
Instead, we just looked at always growing every day. By the time the student graduated, he was able to read around a third grade level and was doing math around a fourth grade level. He still needed a lot of structures, so we did lots of written visual or written kind of schedules for him and just helped him keep his world very predictable, I guess.
Yeah.
And so anyhow, he ended up going on and getting a job at a company, being just kind of a local greeter after his transition program and in high school, and then moved himself up to like doing the shelving and the stocking. And eventually he had this innate obsession with food, right? Didn't necessarily to eat it, but he loved to know everything there was to know about vegetables and fruits. And he would read all of the labels, and he knew everything down to the T of what the nutrients were of this and how many calories and all this. Well, he ended up becoming a regional product manager and buyer for this corporation, and he makes well more money than I do. And he is on the spectrum and has academically lower level skills, but he found his niche and he found his kind of desire. And he was a hard worker. And it was really cool to work with the company that took him in too, because what we did is we helped train them to understand who he was and how he worked. And they started connecting with him. And he's now 30 years old, which is really cool. And I actually still run into him every now and then in the hallways at the place. He's doing great. He's married. He has a child. And I guess that just inspires me because this kid didn't give up on himself. And as long as I didn't give up on him either, and his mom didn't give up on him, he proved us all that he could do it. And he has a very vivacious life. And it's just a super cool success story.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, that's definitely a good success story. He definitely made it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It just goes to show that you can't tap potential. You need to untap it, and you need to promote it and let your child show you where they're going to go. Don't make predictions about how far they can go. Don't limit them yourself with your own fears. Just
that is true.
continue to support and push them and give them what they want. And for some kids, it might not be that far. For some, it might be more smaller, more stable environment, but that's okay. It's understanding that wherever your child lands is where they need to be.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they do actually kind of know where they can go sometimes. I
Yep.
think they have like a little inkling of like, okay, well, I know I can do this, and so this is I
Yeah.
can do this. So I mean, like I always follow my son's lead. Like sometimes when he asks me, oh, can I do this? Can I do that? Can I try this? I'm like, why not? Try it out.
Yep. Yep.
So I mean,
Yeah. Even though you're scared sometimes, right? You
exactly.
gotta just say, yeah, try.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, you're there to help, but
So,
you
yeah.
gotta let them try.
Yeah, exactly. And most of the time it works out. So
Yeah. Isn't that the truth?
yeah. There's always some trial and errors, but it does work out. So
Yes, yes, it does.
so
Yeah.
what would you say that your youngest student or client is that you worked with?
I actually used to do home-based educational services for kids with special needs. So I worked all the way down to infants as young as about 1 month old.
Wow.
So that was the youngest I've worked with. And then the oldest students I've worked with are up through 21.
Okay.
But I still maintain a lot of those relationships even after they're done with the educational system. So some of them, like I told you, the one student's 30 now, and I have other students that are even a little bit older than him. Not much, but it's kind of fun because I think when you're a special ed teacher, you're in their lives for a long time. It's not the 1 year and gone. You're there for a long time, and you really establish these beautiful relationships with the families as well as the students. And they send you birthday cards, and you send them birthday cards, and you go to their graduation parties, and it's just a different world. And it's just so, I guess it just grows in you like a bright light that makes you just so excited.
Yeah.
So
Kind of like having other kids, right?
yeah, a whole family, a world of them.
Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, I
Mhm.
wish we had more teachers like you where they actually, stay connected with the student even after, whole process is done with, whole school year and whatnot.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I love that part.
yeah,
Mhm.
I'm glad you take that initiative.
No, thank you.
So did you want to actually also include how you can help the autism community? Like what you do with that?
Yeah, so I have learned so much through my educational experiences, not through just the different school districts I've worked in, but I've also held a master's degree plus quite a bit of extra credits because I've just always been a believer that you're never done learning and you're never done growing. So I'm constantly trying to educate myself and become the best teacher and the most knowledgeable person I can be in my field. And I'm at that point now. I've just watched so many families struggle and not know how to take information and embed it in their homes. And a lot of it's because it's not because they're not trying. It's not because they don't want to educate themselves. It's just because they don't have that formal person to help them understand what to do and how to do it and actually put it all into play.
Sure.
So I've created an online e-course called Adapted Ed for Adapted Educational type materials. And it's basically a series of modules that the families can watch on their own time. And they can work through the different areas of their child's life to try to not only just set up the environment in their home to help their child be successful, but to understand the whys of why does my child act that way? Why do they do that? And when they do that, what can I do? And how do I go about doing it? So I'm really trying to meet all of those needs and those demands and not just tell them something like they would get from a book, but
Mhm.
actually be there alongside them to walk with them through their journey and help them in their home implementing it and then really understanding it.
Sure.
So that's kind of my goal. And so my course curriculum has a library with it, like I said, digital tools. And once you get that, that's yours. You can go back and watch them over and over again as much as you want. But you would also get weekly Q&A type sessions with me. So as you have questions, you don't know what to do, this doesn't make sense, I'm accessible to you and I can actually help you and walk you through each of those pieces. So yeah, so that's kind of, and I'm newer in that world of the business world. Obviously, I've been a teacher for a very, very long time. And I just I just really hurt for families who aren't getting the assistance or the support, especially from their state or their counties, because it can be so difficult to get that. And so I really want to be that accessible person that's there for them, but doesn't break the bank account, right? It's affordable, it's something that they can have, learn from, know they have a support system in place, but they can manage the fiscal piece of it, that it's affordable. So that's kind of my goal. And it's like, I'm also in the kind of, like I said, the beginning phases. So I'm really hoping to grow with families. I'm hoping to have them come to me and say, okay, you don't talk about this, and but I have this struggle.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it together. Let's challenge that together and let's build that. Let's you educate me, I'll educate you, and we'll grow as a team. And we'll really be a collaborative, unit.
Mhm.
And that's kind of what I want to come to for the parents is just give them that opportunity to see their kids shine and empower them and be able to know the things either their teachers don't have time to teach them, or sometimes a lot of teachers just don't know either,
Yeah,
and give them all of that access and all of that material and tools.
that is true.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that'd be great. I mean, that's even help, of course, to help with the autism community and special needs
hmm
community. So, it'd be even good for just regular kids, but
Yeah, typical kids. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Because a lot of the things I think you and I talked before I shared is that I have 5 children of my own. I have 2 adult daughters and 3 school-age stepsons. I have one daughter with severe medical impairments and some issues, and I do have a son with ADHD, as well as I have some nieces and nephews with autism. And I would do the same thing with all of
Mhm.
because I have found what benefits a child with autism often benefits a typical child or any child because what we really do is we break it down into very simplistic, measurable, and visual based terms.
Mhm.
And who doesn't that help with, right? Don't you wish they'd do that for us as adults?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah. Give us a guideline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of, could use it for anyone. And I do have a Facebook group. It's called Adapted Ed, all one word. So I encourage anyone to join that and they can get some free tips and they can have a community support as well. That's part of the program. It's just when there's a community out there where they can ask questions and I'm on there every day. And so if there is a question or they need support, I can even message you back
Oh,
You don't always have to wait for that Q&A time. You could message me and then I can support you that way. And so I would just, yeah, encourage everyone to look for that Facebook group called Adapted Ed. If you Google it, you should find it with Rebekah Stangl and join, and we can start a connection there right away. And from there, you'll be able to also find my website and different things about me. So that way you can get, more knowledge if you need it. And you
okay.
can always reach out to me. I'll respond.
All right. No, that's great. Yeah, because I also put it in my description too on the video. I'll put your information.
Wonderful.
You probably put like bio if you want to include a bio also about yourself.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I could do that and put the links
Yes.
on there for everybody to make it easy. Yeah, that would be wonderful.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
just a little bit helpful. I think that some people can't remember, like, they gotta pause it and go, okay, what they should say? So
Yes, yes. No, that's true. That's true. That's very helpful for them. Yeah. And like I said, the biggest thing is I just want to grow with families and I want to share as much as I can. And if I don't know something, I am not afraid to go out and find the answers for you. And I have a huge community of other professionals I work with, from social workers to school psychs to vision therapists to OTs, PTs. So I really have a great network of resources to find the answers if I don't have them myself.
okay.
So,
Yeah, I know. We
mhm.
don't always all have the answers, right? Sometimes
Right now I'll admit it. I don't know absolutely everything. I've learned a lot, but I'm not afraid to still reach out and educate myself so that I can help educate everybody else too.
Mhm.
So I'm always growing, always learning.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
That's what I did with my son too. I did a lot of research. You see, what helps him, and basically he just taught me though. So
yeah. Well, and that's the thing, like you said, once you think you know something, then you'll come across a kid and what you think you thought you knew, all
Mhm.
of a sudden you don't know anymore, right? And then you're like, okay, now what do we do? Like, let's dig into this together and come up with new ideas. And, sometimes it's trial and error, but as long as I really feel that's where that collaborative piece is so essential, not just having a book or having a curriculum, but having the knowledge with somebody you can actually interact with and a community around you, because we all know the more brains you put together, the more heads you put together, the more knowledge you can distribute.
Yep.
And so I really want to be able to do that for people.
No, it's great.
So
Yeah, like I always say, it's a never-ending learning journey.
yeah, it is. It's never ending. Yeah. And like I said, it's been exciting to watch it grow in the school systems. Here in Minnesota, we're probably a little more progressive than other places. So I've been able to watch some of the things come out sooner than other states get to see it. So I'm always usually a little bit ahead of the curve, which has been really nice. I still am involved with the school systems, and this is a business that I'm doing alongside my like educational journey. And hopefully that if enough families need the help and the demand calls for me, then that'll be where I'll move. I'll
Yeah.
move where the demand is. So
Okay. Well, because you're a
yeah.
teacher right now, right? Yeah.
Yes, I am.
So what
Yep.
grade do you teach right now?
Right now I am a high school DCD ASD level 3/4
Oh,
teacher. So yeah, so I work with kids from a lot of different ranges. And so when I say level 3/4, we have some level 4 kids, so kids that have some pretty extreme behaviors and need some pretty structured environments. We do a lot of what we call teach programming, things like that with them. And then when level 3 occurs, a lot of those students are partially in special ed and partially in the mainstream.
okay.
And then some of them are kind of bordering on what we call level 2, which where they're mostly in the mainstream and
Mm.
partially in special ed. And then I also collaborate with teachers to help them differentiate curriculum, come up with new ways to help children understand things if they're having trouble in the classroom. And I'm also doing a lot of education for teachers to help them understand. Let's say a kid is in an art class, and let's say they're in a wheelchair and they can't hold a paintbrush. Well,
Mm.
maybe what they're doing is they're doing the same project alongside those students, but they're finger painting.
Okay.
You know, how do we accommodate and adapt the
Mm.
activity to be meaningful to that child so that they're still doing everything everybody else is doing and still 100% a part of that class, but they're doing it according to what their needs are or their abilities are.
No,
And I really focus on that a lot.
that's great that
So,
you do that. Yeah, no, that's yeah.
hmm
Everyone does everything differently, and then they all have to learn
hmm
different ways of doing it. And yes, they can
Yep.
all do it as long as someone helps them out. I think that's great.
Yep. And it really helps too with mainstream education, helping those teachers that really unfortunately, our colleges don't do enough with educating teachers on the special education side prior to giving them their license. And I really am trying to push colleges or looking at curriculum development where that becomes more of a forefront for those teachers. Because, like we've said before, anything you do with a kid with special needs works with a kid that has typical needs, and you can't go wrong. But a lot of the things we do with kids that have typical needs don't work with kids with special needs. So, why wouldn't we start with all the things that work and then grow on top of it?
Yeah, that's actually true. Yeah, I never thought of it that way.
Yep. So,
I was gonna ask, did you
yeah.
actually, during COVID, did you actually do the homeschooling? I mean, have you ever done homeschooling with your students?
Yeah, so half of our year we did virtual, and that was very interesting. We used a lot of interactive websites. So we taught all of our students how to get onto Zoom.
Mhm.
And it was kind of crazy because we never thought we'd get there. So it was a huge learning curve for us, but we taught all of them how to get onto Zoom. And then we would do these different activities where we could have them click on a link and it would make our activities live to them. And so they could interact with us from home and we could move pieces around on boards and would do morning meetings and we would do calendars and we would do, like a reading activity or math activity, things like that. And then, we did what we could with COVID, and I feel like we did a good job with what we could, but it still doesn't ever take the place of being in person. So about halfway through the school year, we fought really hard to get our students to come back, and we had to sign waivers as teachers saying we were okay with that. And then as soon as we signed off that we were okay with it, every single one of our students came back. We
Wow.
didn't have a single one stay home.
Wow.
We had 100%. So we were literally the only program going on in the high school at that time. It was just us and all of our students, and there's about 30 students in our program. And yeah, it was just us in the high school building, but the kids loved it. And because I think one of the things that kids with special needs go through is they love the connection that they have with their teachers
That
and
is,
their peers. And when they lose that connection, like in COVID, they actually went through some like depression
yeah.
and, they were sad. And the day they could come back, they were just lighting up. They were just so excited. And there's so much to say about having those relationships and helping kids. It's just not the same through a computer screen. So,
That's true. Yeah. I mean, I think it all,
mhm,
it does good for one and doesn't for the other. It's all, depends on your child,
mhm.
how
It
they,
does. I do agree with you. It does depend on the child because some children going to school can be overwhelming, right? It can give them the inverse. So yeah, absolutely. I agree with you that it does kind of depend on the child. And that's why, like you said before, you really got to get to know every child individually and uniquely for themselves. And that's one of the big parts that, like I said, my program gives you the cores, it gives you a lot of ideas, it gives you the library, but we still got to work past that. And that's why you would have access to me directly as well, is because so let's say something's not working. Okay, now let's figure it out then together.
yeah.
Let me help you help them.
Hmm.
And we can do this together because, yeah, not every kid's a cookie cutter. They don't all match up the same. So sometimes it will take some creative thinking and problem solving.
Yeah.
So.
No, I definitely agree to that. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and we all learn differently. And so it's like,
Yep,
all our mind.
absolutely. Yep, absolutely. I agree.
Well, it's great to have you as a
Um,
guest and great. Thank you for all your knowledge and letting us know about, how you can help with the autism community. And I mean, it's been great talking.
Yes.
And
Yeah, so thank you for having me. It was really nice to talk with you too.
and
So,
also there's always a chance to come back too if you want to, to talk about your other once you get your course going and everything else, you can also talk about that. And some of your
yes, I would love to do that. Yeah, and just if anybody's interested, like I said, I am in the beta sales portion right now. So I'm looking for families who want to work with me to grow with me, and I can grow with them
yeah.
and really, hold their hand along the process and be present for them. And so I'm offering it at a pretty steep discount. So if they are interested, now be the time to work with me because I think we can really grow together.
Oh yeah, of
So,
course. Yeah, that's the whole,
mhm.
that's the whole point of it, right? Learn.
Yep, 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 absolutely. So,
All right. Well, it's great chatting with
well,
you.
thank you. All right.
Talk to you
Thank
later.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.